Hello friends, let us identify the motor areas for corticospinal tract. Now let us first go and understand where this area is, where these commands are coming from. This is what? This is the central sulcus. In front of the central sulcus, this area is called as the primary motor cortex area. In front of the motor cortex area is the premotor cortex area, and this is located laterally. Medial to, if we go, there is a medial side of it, there is corpus callosum, and there is another lobe of the cortex which is attached, right? This part is called the supplementary motor areas. Now we have our representation of our body in primary motor area, premotor area, as well as in supplementary motor area. Here is the central sulcus. It is important for us to understand some landmarks. This is the central sulcus. In front of the central sulcus is the precentral sulcus. This is the postcentral sulcus. Sulcus is the depression, the depression of the cortex. So we know the cortex has got the grooves and it has got the depression. So this is called as the gyri or the gyrus, and these depressions are called as the sulcus, right? Now this is called as the central sulcus. In front of the central sulcus, we have another sulcus, what we call as the precentral sulcus. And behind one, we call this as post-central sulcus. What is the next thing we want to know? We want to know where our motor areas are, which are basically present in the gyrus, right? So this area, which is in front of the central sulcus, present in this is called as my primary motor cortex. This is my primary motor cortex. In front of the primary motor cortex is another area which is concerned with the motor fibers, and we call this area, which is located laterally, we call this area as premotor cortex. If I go towards the medial side, there is another area which is also concerned with motor function, and we call this as supplementary motor area, right? Then where is my we have still been seeing that all the sensory fibers, they come and ultimately give their fibers via corona radiata to an area number 312, and we call this as the somatosensory cortex. So if we want to understand where exactly is my motor area, this is your frontal side. So I can say this is the nose here, okay, the mouth. This is the frontal side of it. This part is called as the motor part, and this is called as the somatosensory cortex. Both in the cortex and the motor areas, your body is represented in a way that it is mapped, depending on what region has got what functionality, they have been mapped in my cortex. This is how we are represented in our motor cortex. So how is the representation? Look at it. We have done a section like this and see how we are represented. So the organ which are involved in phonation means production of speech, voice. So they are located laterally. So you can see here, what is there? There is the swallowing. We have the pharynx, larynx, tongue, jaw, all that. Then we have the facial representation. Okay, we have the lip presentation. Then to the eye, look at this. This is the eye area or the frontal eye field area, we can call it. Above the eye is the hand area, which is represented. Look at this, a very good representation is there. Then it is followed by the elbow, the shoulder, the trunk, the hip, and then we go medially. On the medial end, we have the representation of the lower part of the body, that is knee, ankle, and toes. So we actually are pictured into our brain in this way, and we call this as the motor homunculus. What is it? It is motor homunculus. So what we have to remember, if you look at the areas here, lateral most. So obviously, if you look at the premotor areas, in the premotor areas on the lateral side, we have the area which are involved for phonation. Then above the phonation is the area involved for your eye field area, for your saccades, for movement of your eyeball. Then is the area which is representing your hand. So your fine movements, hand movements, skill movements, they are being controlled by here. And as we go deep towards the medial side, we have the representation for the lower part of the body. Where exactly in the motor cortex my fibers are originating? Which one? The fibers which are going to form my corticospinal tract. So if you look at the composition of the corticospinal tract, do remember that 40% of the corticospinal tract, it comes from the primary motor area, from this area. This is my primary motor area. 30% of it comes from the premotor areas and the supplementary motor areas together. Together from the premotor area and the supplementary motor area, we have the 30% fibers coming. But what is so important for us to remember this? This is what most of us miss out. We never think that how can a sensory cortex have a role in the motor tract? No. Sensory, somatosensory areas also contribute 30% of the fibers to my corticospinal tract or the pyramidal tract.